Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're here for a wet qualifying session in Turkey. We're here at Istanbul Park for the very first time we're racing at this circuit in Ultimate League, and the first time we've had a Turkish Grand Prix since we visited it back in Season 3. I'm honoured to have five-time Ultimate League champion alongside me, Mr. Nuno.
Howdy.
Howdy indeed. It should be a real banger of a quali here. Um, it's wet in Istanbul, as aforementioned. We'll have a look at the pink cars to see if there's any Racing Point antics going on. But as we look in the top left of our screens for the opening laps, it's Marion Frias for FGR on provisional pole position. She hasn't taken pole in a race since season 5 or 6. I think she took pole in Russia. I'm not sure if she did take a pole in season 6. We can have that fact checked by our good man Jakey on the sidelines if he feels like coming in with that information at some point. Things to mention as we get the names on here. Danimator is in for LSA. It's the first race that Danimator and Sobel has been the LSA lineup since they won the Constructors' Championship at the end of Season 7. Very few improvements on that second lap, but notably Charge JT, who won the Journeyman League, which is the equivalent of F3, and the Challenger League, which is the equivalent of F2. All of the races there, both sprint and feature races, and the only race that we have in Journeyman League, he won all of them. So we're expecting big things from him here today in Istanbul, but the drivers will come across the line to finalise the qualifying positions. Can anyone beat Marion? Oh my lord, that's a voice crack, and it's a justified one. Grandy, for the very first time in his career, is on pole position for Nordic Thunder. He's the only driver to dip below the 31-second mark, and that is a monumental for him. Marion Frias will start alongside him on the front row. Previous to this season, the last time that Marion had raced was before Grandy made his debut in the league. So these two drivers going head to head, side by side into turn 1 should be a feast. Cubo will start third. He's openly expressed that he's looking to win today, but having not taken victory in either race in Challenger League, we might see how that one progresses. Then we've got Pamushas in 4th position, Danimator and Sobel 5th and 6th for LSA. Good buds, and they're starting on the same row as teammates. Once again, Scuderia Paracaro's highest starting position in many a season, and it's done by Charge JT, the man who we knew would get some kind of pace in the wet after his amazing performance in the sprint earlier. He's 7th, it's Corvid behind him, then Jaruni and the Anti-Amazing making the top 10, and NTH Sandwich. Just below, we've got Kraft ahead of Andres. The Noms down in a disappointing 13th place. Cano behind him, 14th. It's Rozim. Then I stole these words, Gwetzley and Uris. Despite the rain quali, 1st to 17th was within 0.88 seconds. That really is quite something. I'll turn the in-game sounds back on because I realised I had those off. And I'll hand over to Nuno.
Yeah, I would say what an amazing qualifying, especially from Grandy to beat Marion Fries by 2 tenths. I think it's very surprising. I would say first and second row here, like two drivers, 4 drivers, really with surprising results. Although I guess Cubo this season has certainly been strong, and yeah, also interesting to see here that he made the racing today for LSA alongside Sobol, the same driver who he won the constructors for LSA. And it seems to be kind of poetic that it's this lineup racing today on the season where they finally can take that constructors back. Also, Sargent T might have an amazing race today. I don't think he's his debut race because I believe he has raced before, but this time might certainly be like a breakthrough performance today. And I think this race certainly promises. Also, Anti starting in P10. He wants to, I guess, take the lead of the championship from Sobo, who's starting from P6. So I don't know. I think this race certainly is one of promising. Looks very, very promising. I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's an incredible qualifying. So Corvid and Jaruni tied their lap time. Which is something interesting. So we'll see if there's any other ties down the grid. Yes, Andres and Noms also tied theirs, as did Kado and Rozim. So we've got a few ties all around. That's just something incredible to see. Wet Quali really shaking it up here today in Istanbul. It promises to be an absolute banger of a race. 48 laps ahead of the Turkish Grand Prix here in Season 12. We're underway. Grandi starts on the soft compound tyre. Marion will start just behind on the medium. Cubo immediately jumps her into turn 1. JT looking for a bit of action. He's passed both LSAs already. Goes wide though into those sequence of left-handers. Pimu and Marion battling up. Sobel and Jaruni's made his way through. Pamushas goes off the track. That causes a bit of a chain reaction. And Jeru just wide there as well. Noms up the inside of him. They're fighting over 7th position. Anti made his way up 4 positions up the grid, and we've got a huge pack coming into this hairpin corner now. It looks like Corvid got the worst of that. The RMCs going side by side need to sort out their differences just a little bit as well. Falling back was Noms down to 15th place, and the Mayhems right at the back. Cubo still in second. Charge JT looking to take that off him all the way around the outside at turn 8. Can he keep his foot in? Go towards the breaking point here. Cubo giving him very little room on the exit, but they are fighting everything here, and JT might just sit back into the slipstream. Grandi continues to lead. Marion down to 4th. Anything you've seen, Nuno?
Oh my god, what an amazing start right now. As you see already make a mistake, Cubo trying to take the lead there, but Jesus Christ, what a start from Charge GT, from P7 to up to 3rd place. And I would say this is certainly very promising, because look at this, like the variety of strategies today, and for some reason on this track, I feel like every single tire seems to work here, so it's going to be a very, very interesting race.
We've got a massive pack going for the lead here. Sorry to cut off whoever that was, but Cubo looks to just get through. JT shuffled down a few positions because we're going 6 wide for the lead of the race. It's going to be 7 in this train of cars. The NTH is looking to attack and attack further here. Anti takes Danimator off the track, the LSA driver just for this race. JT still down in 6th place, but still with that slipstream right behind. And it looks like the medium runners might try and benefit off this if they can just stick in this train. Cubo is looking for what I'm almost sure will be his first lap sled in ultimately, despite his front-running prominence over the last few races. JT held up slightly behind Pamushas there, and it's also got to be some of the highest positions that we've seen in SCP in for many a season. They had some adventures in Season 11 and SLX with Gwetsley and Suicide getting up into high places, but this is really quite something, a start for the team. Was that Goose that I heard?
Yeah, I was just remarking on the ascent from Anti, amazing from the top 10, challenging for the podiums as well. And also that stat for you asked about earlier, Marion Frias' first and only pole came in Russia, Season 5, where she won her last win.
Yeah, qualifying and oftentimes the best thing from Marion Frias. She's always seems to rise more in the race.
Yeah, it's really interesting that. So Marion's only pole in Russia, that's fascinating. And Grandi taking his maiden pole today, a bit Lance Stroll-esque in the wet at Istanbul Park. 4 wide into the hairpin. They really need to sort these out. Oh, we've got a huge crowd of cars. Marion will lead. No, it's going to be JT. JT leads the race on lap 6. Sorry, I've got all of this in a kerfuffle. And we get a little bit of lag. We're going to hope this clears up as soon as possible. JT! Charge JT following Marion being slightly taken into the pit lane. Has led a lap for Scuderia Paracara. That's got to be their first lap led back since Season 9 under the helm of Pamushas. And is he going to finally come into the pit lane this lap? They need to be really careful not to tackle him as he looks to maybe embark into the pits. Marion will now lead for FGR. Go for it.
This could be really smart from him, staying out, taking some slipstream from the medium drivers, while everyone else who had pitted are still in a bit of traffic right here. And so yeah, the Charge team may have been knowing what he's doing, but I would say maybe if he takes softs again, I would not go this long on the next things.
He's definitely sending it long, but then again, he did win both the JL race and the CL feature, which have those elements of strategy. He's gone long, and he's actually matched Marion on the medium. That's a little bit of illustration for you there. Danimator on the medium leads now for Levioso Sports R, and it's Kraft in 2nd place. He's also yet to stop. We should have the rain on, hopefully, as Goose tested for us last time out in Mosport. And that would mean that it could massively benefit these guys. So look at this. Cubo massively fell back. He took the hards. He's now being swamped in this pack. He's down in 12th position. It's Kado and Eurus causing a bit of bottleneck. Sobel round the outside at turn 10. Can he make the move into the hairpin? There's so many cars here. Kado sneaks through, and he's going to get up Isto, who finished 2nd in the feature race in Challenger League earlier on today. Cubo, who finished 3rd. just going through there. Isto goes into the pit lane. Caddo now in 9th place, right behind Sobel. Danny managed to overcut this pack. He's come out on his fresh, brand spanking new soft compound tyre. Pamusha's on the hard. Then it's Anti. JT still up in 4th position. That's going to turn into 3rd when Kraft inevitably pits this lap, I'm almost certain. And it will. Grandy leads, and it's still Marion in 2nd. So, funnily enough, the front row of the grid still 1 and 2 here. JT just getting his muscles out a little bit. The British driver looking for the first British podium in the league since season 7, when Iceberg took a podium at his home race around Silverstone. So, it's a lot to ask of him, but he's looked absolutely phenomenal this weekend, and light and day since his debut appearance in Alton Park. Obviously, that was a home race for him as well, and yeah, it was just behind the pack, but putting in that effort, putting in that work, and it's truly looking great for him. Of course, he's not the only driver, British driver, to make their debut at their home race, so we'll have to see if he can follow in the footsteps of greats there. We'll have a look at the rest of the pack while I continue to compliment myself. Sobel goes through on Pamushas, Cubo sitting alone in 8th. Kraft looking to zoom up on Corvid here if he can, all the way around the outside of that little corner at the end of the first straight, down the second one through the kink. Kraft backs out there. LYR 10th and 11th. It's Jaruni, then Caddo side by side with Gwetsley at the moment. They're just flicking around position there. Andres and Noms and Isto and Rozim at the back of this pack. This entire field, the accordion effect really closing it all up. This is pretty amazing stuff to see. Marion continues to lead. Nuno, anything that you've spotted?
I feel like Cubo may have lost a little bit with the traffic, and now only sitting in P8 on the hard tire. I think his bet is to see if this, I guess, saving a pit stop will work well for him.
Yeah, certainly could. That's interesting to see. So JT still sticking with Danny's slip. Of course, Danny pitted just that little bit later on the mediums. He extended, Marion didn't, so JT's got the same tyre life in effect as Marion. Obviously, with Marion now having taken the mediums once again, Danny on the softs, JT on the softs as he was in the first stint, and he's still up in this top 3 pack. This is phenomenal pace. Once upon a time, back in the first round of Season 8, we saw a breakthrough performance from a certain Polish driver. They called him Rito, we called him a K equivalent. It might be stepping a little bit far to dub that with JT 15 laps into this race, but he is looking outstanding for a breakthrough driver. That is really quite something. Pamushas up in 4th currently. Still, we'll focus on this battle for a little bit. Kraft, Corvid and Cubo, the 3 Cs that everyone needs in their Ultimate League from time to time. 3 wonderful people, wonderful drivers, and we'll see how wonderfully they can battle here. It's a little sketchy there. Corvid makes a double move, I believe. He's gone through on Cubo. He's up into 6th place. Anti will catch this train behind on his fresh, soft compound tyres. So will similar age. Caddo has now broken clear of this pack. Nom's struggling. Now down in 12th position. He's on the softs. They're a little bit worn. The life's been taken out of them. Gwetsley's going to look to make this a double top 10 for SCP provisionally if he can make up a few positions here. I saw these words just tucked in behind. It's Andres, Jaruni and Uris. This field still anyone's game to play here. Danimator will lead once again. Marion and JT come in once more. And JT really impressive in that, just being able to take the softs for equally as long as Marion takes the mediums. He's going to come out right in this little pack of cars. Kraft, Anti and Corvid all with varying age of tyre, but all a little bit worn out. So we'll have to see to what effect he can just carve his way through here. This is a really big challenge as well, trying to pass drivers who aren't necessarily at the end of their stints, but should let you through. They won't always necessarily be willing to do that, though. Corvid and Kraft have just made way for him. JT will be good to get anti-slipstream. Is he going to undercut Danimator side by side out of the pit lane? It looks like he is. He is in effective P2, but Corvid is still looking to fight back here. Not sure if he realises JT is on a much fresher medium. You credit him for being surprised at that. But yeah, JT, I think, nicked a bit of the inside grass there going through turn 8. That's put him back into the clutches of Danimator, and the Australian ahead, maintaining P4 for the time being. Danny's going to really send it into that corner. JT does a move far beyond his years of experience in completely backing out of it, regaining the slipstream and not losing too much time through that whole debacle. That's a really good thing to do. Danny obviously still has a lap fresher tyres, and JT can still exploit that just by slipstreaming him, taking that pace, and then perhaps overcutting, well, perhaps doing whatever he feels like, to be honest. I'm not going to tell him how to do his strategy. Any input from anyone else at the moment?
I would say I think Mary Free is looking really good right now. She's leading the race on mediums, much fresher tires than Brandy's, for example, and antis. So I think the MTHs are certainly like being pitting out too early, I think, in these races, and I guess it's sort of working out because yeah, I think LT has got past this big barrier that is Corvid, and now Denimator is trying to do the same, and I think Charge AT are starting to be screwed up a little bit because now Denimator on better tires is like ahead of him. But yeah, I think Mary Free is certainly so far the one doing the best on a race where every single tire seems to work well. It's quite interesting. I believe it's because of the like how hard supposedly work, but the pit stops are kind of small, and I think that's been creating this big mix of strategies today.
It was Pimu and Sobel wide there, and just, I think, Sobel scraping the wall, Pimu paying the penalty for that. Cubo is now back onto this train that pretty much goes all the way up to second place, but as you rightfully said, and something that went a little bit under the radar, Marion has really gapped this field. She is doing phenomenally, and Danny is holding up the soft tyre runners behind him. Grandy and Anti, J2 behind them as well. The
Yeah,
Nordic Thunder's looking to make some inroads here. Go on.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that she's leading on a track that I kind of maybe I'm stretching too much, but it kind of feels like a bit like a Russia the base track of Russia, where she got her first, I mean her last win back in season 5, which has been like more than a year, maybe 2 years already. It's been quite long, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't
And
it?
it's a track that feels a little bit similar, like also very fast turns and some flat out corners and some left and right turns, and yeah, I think that might be a good reason for Marion to be leading and having this pace today.
Yeah, 21 months since Marion Frias' last win in Sunday League as it was then, Ultimate League as it is now. Back in Sochi in Season 5, she took her first win in Malaysia, I believe, in Season 2. And it was a good season for FLF. That's a good season for FLF now. And their main rivals all the time were LSA. So it's really nice to see both Marion back this season and this historic rivalry of Flow Force versus LSA, which was historically always a bit of a Nomscar and Marion versus K and Sobel scrap.
And she's beating and keeping the lead of the race. This is amazing for her. I think she might really be cruising for the win now. I don't know who the hell can stop her. I'm not gonna lie.
I know one person who can stop her. That's one thing, really. It starts with R and it ends with Ain. But you never know. I think this is really, really promising for her at the moment, unless the clouds come raining right now. It's a really, really good position for her to be in. Danny, you surely, as somebody behind gunning for the win, you have to be trying to stretch these stints as much as you can, really, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to get Marion, with her having already taken the extra stop, coming out ahead of this pack. It's Corvid and Sobel side by side, and this section, I think you're absolutely right in your assessment. This section, very much like that middle sector in Sochi, just the 90-degree corners where you need to get a little bit of a grass cut, a good line through it, carry speed, and not lose too much time battling other cars getting pushed off, as we see Sobel pushed off there. JT comes into the pit lane, and I don't doubt that he'll come out behind this little pack. Where will he come out relative to the two behind Cubo and Pamushas? He really nicely comes out into a bit of clean air there. It's a good stop for him. He's still in 8th place after it, and he just needs to keep that pace going. The world's his oyster. Yeah, it's fascinating that. Of course, this is Ultimate League on Ultimate Racing 2D2. If you do want to get involved, there are links down in the description to both the Discord server for the game, where people will very happily guide you to the holy grail of the game, or just directly to the Steam page where you can buy it yourself. Only a few euros, very much worth getting if you want to get involved in action like this or any of our 3 Formula 1 style leagues: Ultimate League, Challenger League and Journeyman League. Grandy wide there as Corvid just edges him off, and he goes all the way up the inside of Corvid, who has to really back out there, although he'll see himself differently. Grandy edges JT off there, right behind Sobel and Anti. It's 2 red cars and 2 blue cars fighting it out here, and they're going to get a nice big pack coming into that final hairpin. Through the chicane they go now. Corvid back through, and the rain on its way. That's not going to massively damper Marion, it's massively going to help Danny and Anti there, and a lot of chaos. The rain's come and the driving standards have gone here in Turkey. Sobel wide there once again, and is now a outright scrap to get into the pit lane. That final corner is not going to be pretty if it starts raining down that corner. Anti takes Cubo off the track there. They spread back. These guys need to tiptoe their way into the lane. JT makes a mistake. Pamushas and Sobel all backed up behind him, and it looks like Sobel just got the jump coming to this ghosted pit lane. JT will get out through, and Anti's made a mistake, and he's missed his box. He has to drive all the way back. Somehow that's happened to him, because it should be a ghosted lane. So I don't see why and how. Now the rain's going to intensify. This is really important. Marion took the intermediate tyre. Danimator took the wet. Corvid on the inter. Grandy on the wet. Then we've got inter, wet for Cubo, inter for Kraft, and wet for Anti in the top 10. Massive benefit to those who took the wet tyre. But Marion is already ahead, having taken a pit stop more than Danny. Is 8 seconds clear of him on the track. This is unbelievable. You've got to, of course, credit part of it to Danny being in a bit of traffic, and Marion has not even heard the word traffic this race. Grandy massively wide there. Might have been forced off by Corvid, rather. Potentially. JT is going to catch this pack up, but as the rain intensifies, that gamble from the likes of Cubo, Grandy, and Danny is really looking beneficial. Sobel's going to go side by side with the pole into the final corner, and Cubo will just get the better traction by the time they come out through the chicane. Sobel barely within slipstream. Kraft, a really nice contender for that top 10 as well. JT still up in 6th position, but that's not gone his way with the rain. Grandy up in 4th. That's turned it around for him a bit, because he looked to have fallen just a little bit down into that traffic pack. Corvid also massively benefiting. He's in 3rd and looking to take his 3rd career podium. I'd love a fact check on that as well. He's definitely had a couple, or at least one back in Christais, and he's been a very successful racer in recent times as well, a real staple of the front of the field. But Danny all the while has closed the gap to Marion by a couple seconds here and there. He's going to be praying this rain stays for as long as possible. Rain, rain, don't go to Spain, home country of the Marion Frias. He wants it to stay here in Istanbul. Corvid, Pamushas right behind him now, and Grandy right up to this fight for the podium. This is really intriguing. The maiden pole sitter here today. Well, we saw the win fumble from Lance Stroll, the pole sitter in Turkey in 2020, as the intermediates just didn't work for him. Grandy's opted for the wets, but he needs to stick with his pack ahead of him if he wants to take that podium once more. It's Anti who's massively lost out here, really, because he's down to 10th position, having fought earlier with the drivers much higher up. Cadam and Noms just exchanging blows through that middle sector, and it's not been a particularly good race for Girouni. Second to last for him at the moment. Uris right behind, but it's such a close field that you've got these little packs of cars, but nobody particularly astray at all. Cubo has massively made some progress. This is great to see. He's up to 5th place now. He was down in 8th behind the pack, and Grandy next to him now on track. They need to catch the interrunners ahead. Nuno, over to you.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Cubo really on the chart right now. I think he was like down to P9 when this rain started, and now already up to P5, and the podium is still up for grabs today. As you can see, Corvid and Pamushas still going side by side here.
JT down to 8th now. I think the battling with Sobel's not going to do him too many favours. It would be better to back off. Kubo just edges Grandy off there a little bit. What was that you saw?
Yeah, that was that. So, Kubo pushing Grandy there on the main straights.
Kubo... Go on, Goose.
Cubo makes a mistake, falling back, and Corvid, as you might recall, was not in Christais. It was the Kimi ring where he got his...
of course. My apologies to all of our viewers. It was, of course, Buddha who originally took 3rd and got relegated off the podium for a post-race penalty for chatting. That's quite something. So, Kubo has found the grass a little bit there. He's going to have some grievances with NTHs after this race, and they might have the same with him, because Grandy will have been not pleased to have been pushed off there. Of course, I think it's now pretty clear they're not going to catch the likes of Danimator and Marion Frias, but this fight for 3rd is all important. Pimo on the Inter, really keeping his ground here. It's great to see, potentially looking to get back on the podium this season, take BAR's first ever podium, potentially. We'll have JakeBrad in the interview room after the race to react to that if it does happen, and probably even if it doesn't. This pack, meanwhile, Sobel and JT have fallen off, and it's just going to be more rain. It's almost tempting for an Inter runner to come in for a wet stop now, because Marion could do it, and she will. Look at me, I
10
know
laps to go,
strategy.
that it makes sense, but
Yeah.
it could be risky if the rain decides to end right now.
It is.
Okay, this could be really decisive right now. I can see that who is gonna take the lead of the race.
He is, Danomator. We thought that Marion had a pit stop. It was just shy of that. The gap that Danny managed to make back up to Marion, with her being on the inters in full wet conditions and him being on the wets, has meant that Marion coming into the lane will be behind Danny. This, of course, not taking into account the fact that Danny has much, much older tyres, but he's going to try and hold on, slipstream as much as he can. This has given him a lifeline that he desperately needed in this race, and the sun is coming back! Oh, this is really turning into something special. Danomator looking for his first win since...
He didn't win the season in
No, he
season 11, it
didn't.
was in Losail, I think.
Losail. Thank you, Nuno.
Yeah.
His first win since Losail back in Sunday League X, didn't win despite the Constructors' Championship win for Mayhem, his team in Season 11. Cubo is now up in 3rd place, and it looks like, yeah, Grandy came in for new tyres, Corvid came in for new tyres, Pamushas came in for new tyres, as did JT and Sobel. So really, that rain really massively screwed over people. I'm also just going to hand over, but right before that, Andres has taken the hards already, which is an interesting strategy.
Yeah, I guess if Head was he, would say that's a very Andres thing, but let's say also Anti here, benefiting a lot from this rain, or from the other drivers pitting, as he's now up to P5, as you can see now promotions on the outside, and I think Corvid got pushed there.
It's fascinating stuff here. Really, really interesting. Cubo, I sort of made a joke with him a bit before the race that maybe it was the curse that when he finally stopped winning in CL, that's something he's done all season long, he'd get that podium in UL, something he's tried to do and failed to do all season long. And he is now sitting in 3rd place, which looks so unlikely at the start of this race, with him sitting in 10th position. But it looks like at the end here, we're going to get a soft tyre sprint to the end of the race. They should all be coming in this lap or next. Danomator is not in, nor is Marion. This will be their final campaign. We'll keep track of who the first runners in for the slicks are. Cubo could almost gamble for it now, to be honest, and he will. Grandy will stay out. This is going to be his effort, and if the rain comes back, massively beneficial to him. Pimu stays out, Corvid stays out, Anti in, Noms out, Sobel out, JT in. The rain is coming back!
Rain. Oh no.
Oh,
I think it was
JT!
understandable.
What's he going to do? He takes the inters. Now, this is even more interesting, because Danny's tyres are screwed.
Oh yeah.
Well, Kubo's just come back out, as are Noms's. He tried to claim his way back up. It looks like everyone either just stopped or stopped before, back when the heavy rain was announced for the wets, but it's only light rain on the track. Our highest inter runner is Rozim, who's currently running in 11th position, with JT down in 13th behind him. It's just not been... it's slipped away from him, because he took those wets off his interspell. Then the sun came back and the early pit didn't work. He's gone his way through Rozim and Calo very skillfully there. Noms and Kraft ahead. Then it's Cubo, who's thrown away the podium. He's on the softs, but the clouds are... What the... To use a lack of a better term, what is happening here? Cubo will come back in for the inters, and then presumably back in for the softs, but the rain might not clear until the end of the race. That is absolutely something to keep your eyes peeled to, because we've got a few laps left, but it's not raining, but now it is! Okay.
Oh my god, this rain, what the hell is happening?
This game is quite something. Grandy.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Grandy looking for his first podium since Losail, I believe. No. Since Zandvoort. I can't remember.
Yeah, since Zandvoort. Yeah.
Since Zandvoort, there we go. Nuno knows his stats better than I do. Pamushas trying to hunt off that podium. Right, so okay, right. Kubo came in for the inters. It's now full rain, so he might fall behind the likes of Kraft and Calo. JT might not even get a top 10 here come the end of this race, because that wet condition is just not going to swing in his favour. We'll have a look at see what... Oh, he's been off there as well. Cado's on the wets, they're more worn, but they will be better suited to this condition. Should be fascinating to see a Delta. Flow Force, meanwhile, our Constructors' Championship challenging team, currently in 7th and 8th, as Marion, a lap ahead of them for FGR, starts her final lap of the Grand Prix. Danimator runs in 2nd, Grandy runs in 3rd with Pamusha's gap behind him. Funnily enough, we still don't actually have that many battles really in the top 6, despite that sort of huge weird strategy mix up. But as we can see here, Callow in 10th, a lap ahead is Marion for FGR. 21 months, 7 seasons after last taking victory, Marion Friis wins the Turkish Grand Prix here at Istanbul Park. Danimator looks to have just lost out 2nd unless he can claim it back at the final corner, but we're not going to have time. We're gonna run out of time in the session. Grandy takes 2nd place here, ahead of Danimator. And he takes the fastest lap too. In the dying stages, Danny falls down to 3rd. Pamushas will take 4th for BAR just off the podium here. Corvid will take 5th. It's going to be Sobel who takes 6th for LSA and 7th for Noms, 8th for Cubo. Noms and Cubo tying in finishing position. By that record, I think they both then get 7th place and share the points for it, or split the points for it, rather. We'll have to see how that one gets dealt with in FIA after the race. Kraft will take 9th, and Caddo, an unlikely top 10 for him, right at the end of the race. JT, so unlucky. So unlucky at the end. It's 11th place for him, and those 2 extra pit stops threw away what could have been, maybe not a podium, but definitely really high up there. He was in that pack. Gutting for him, but let's hope that that fire has not been extinguished by the late rains in Istanbul. I really hope he continues to be on the grid for the foreseeable future. So much raw pace. Rozim will take 12th position. Antti will finish out. I think that might be his first ever finish outside the top 10 in Ultimate League.
Oh yeah.
Staggering that. 13th for Nordic Thunder. 14th is I Stole These Words. 15th Jaruni. And then it's Urist and Gwetsley Andries right at the back. Even then, the entire field within 69 seconds of the race leader. That was really quite something. Nuno, I'll go to you for your analysis.
Yeah, I would say amazing race from Marion Friis. She really did what she had to do and she took the win in the end. And also Grandy out of nowhere, just taking second places. Danny tires was just dead and totally dead, and then also, sadly for Cubo, really unlucky with rain. He was doing an amazing recovery up to 3rd, and then everything just went wrong. And yeah, actually, I think he tied with his teammates, it seems, for the race time. And also, Sharjit, he also an amazing race today. He could have been certainly much better, but he also got unlucky. And yeah, this should be interesting. Sobel taking P6 and anti P13. I think Sobel is going to extend the gap for the championship, and also LSA should also extend their gap in the WCC today. So yeah, I think that's all I can say.
I think it's just an astonishing race there. The late rains, to an extent, really sort of messing things up. Danimator, I don't think stopped since he put on that wet compound ages ago. The one that he was originally chasing down Marion with, and that would explain why Grandy caught him in the nick of time. But pure Marion Friis dominance here, just as it was in Russia, back when she won there. And it's so great to see her back on the top step of the podium. Yeah, we'll go to Goose if you've got a word to say. Might even just turn this into an interview. You're the owner of Fox and Goose Racing. This is your first victory as a team since, let me get it right, would it be Bielovesia?
Yeah, season 10.
Something
I think
like
it was when Nuno's last win with us. This is an absolute treat. Good to have Marion back. Corvid, a top 5 performance. Just an absolute dummy of a race at the end. But I don't know if you can call it strategy, but Marion won it.
She certainly did. Pure pace, I think, is really something that was on her side today. There's not much doubting that, and I didn't hear much talking about that before the race. Sort of slipped under the radar a little bit. So we'll go down in order of finishing position, see the drivers that we have in the VC. If you'd like to start, Corvid, how'd that one feel? So lots of ping-ponging around in those top positions. Could it have been a podium for you today?
Yeah, definitely. The start was really hectic. I fell back really early and just tried to bide my time. I felt like going for the harder tires was the strat, and the rain came at a very good time for me. And then I knew I wanted to go for a second stint on the wet tires, but that also went in my way. It's just what could have been in a way, because I was ahead of Grandy for portions of that first wet stint, and if I was a bit faster, a bit less error prone, I could have been on that podium. But I'm happy with how it went, given I was looking at the barrels of a bottom four finish at the like lap 5 mark.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was everywhere, to be totally frank, today. And yeah, but still fantastic race for FGR, first and fifth. And do you think that's thrusted you into championship contention?
We'll just see. Obviously, we've got the mid-season break to sort of contemplate where we're headed, but as long as we can at least keep the teams below us at bay, that'd be a start. That'd be a good start.
Good to hear. Thank you, mate. Now, if we can, JT, man, gutted for you there, but still an amazing performance, really showing the grid what you're made of. Describe how that one felt. If you want to. Don't have to. Yeah. Might not be here, so we'll go to Jake if we can. Jakey, it was in the end 14th place for I Stole These Words, but a very solid 4th for Pamushas, just about missing out on that first podium for BAR. Give us a rundown of that.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, really, because we really thought at the start of this weekend that it would have been a podium fight, maybe a win. But the race was crazy, you know. Pimu had a good quali, so nothing against him. But I think he was the second most unlucky driver when it came to rain. I can't say he was the most unlucky because Cubo got absolutely ruined. But I think Pimu equally struggled with the absolute carnage that unfolded. So I think he did the best he could, which is tough because he was so close to that podium. In regards to Stoley, I think it's just learning, really. I think over this mid-season break, he'll really improve, and we're ready. I've seen the pace from him. I know he can do it. To be up there with Pamushas, hopefully, and we'll finally get that first podium eventually, hopefully. So, yeah, tough, but not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, no, overall a solid race. 4th place ties the best result that the team has secured in a race, but I can understand that it must be a bit of a gut punch to not finally get that maiden podium for the team. And finally, if we can, Cubo, I think you have quite a story to tell there. You were down in 10th, you were then up in 3rd. Well, you started up, then you went down, then you went up, and then double fucked by the rain. Forgive my language. How'd that one go?
Yeah, it's a valuable race to learn from, I think. The rain really did a number on me there, but I'm happy to have set such a good quali lap, and then I led some laps, but strategically I don't think I made the best decisions sometimes, and I got that huge advantage to finally finish on the podium, and then once again I lose it. But yeah, over the mid-season break, nothing to do but learn from it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you looked really good for it. You looked really good for it. The pace maybe wasn't quite there in CL to an extent. Definitely was there today because you were up and down quite a fair amount. Any sort of indication about your pace in Hyderabad? Do you think that elusive first podium is coming?
I don't know. I'll have to go around the circuit and see. But surely at one point I've got to take it this season, and I'll keep working towards that.
Well, that is about us for today. Thanks so much for watching, keeping along with us through this rain-affected, from qualifying to the very end of the race, absolutely chaotic Turkish Grand Prix. We've got a little bit of a mid-season break coming, then we'll be back for the Indian Grand Prix. Again, the first time that we've had one of those since Season 3. So a nice little theme there. That's going to be at the Hyderabad Street Circuit and should be a thoroughly entertaining street circuit race. But until then, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Yee.